Hey, this is the Steaming Pile. I'm Jake. Today's topic is superheroes and sex. More specifically, who should be good at it and who should be bad at it, based on their powers. To start off, let's talk about the character that inspired the topic, Stacy X, a mutant prostitute introduced in Uncanny X-Men 399 in the month of December. That literary fact is almost 18 years old, so guess what? You can jerk off to it and not go to jail. That's how the law works, right? Anyway, I don't really want to talk much about Stacy X, but just a brief rundown. Introduced as a mutant prostitute, is able to control people through a pheromone touch, lowering and raising their levels of desire to pay her money for sex, obviously. But again, not really one of the characters I'm too interested in talking about, just the one that inspired the topic. Let's get to the meat of the issue, pun intended, with our second character, Magneto. Most of you all know Magneto from the movies. You're aware of his power set, master of magnetism, pretty self-explanatory. But what you may not know about Magneto, unless you saw X2, is that Magneto can manipulate the iron in someone's blood. Now in X2, it required Mystique to give a ill-fated prison guard an injection of iron so that Magneto could, make some flying metal testicles and bust himself out of prison.
Too much iron in your blood.
He doesn't really need that. If you have any trace amount of iron in your blood, Magneto can manipulate it. Well, what this basically means, then, is that Magneto can direct the flow of blood anywhere he wants. Meaning, Magneto has an eternal erection if he so desires. But Jake, isn't Magneto an octogenarian and, very old? Well, yeah, that's true. But due to some comic book shenanigans, I believe in Chris Claremont's run, don't quote me on this, I'm recalling this from memory, Magneto was de-aged to a baby, hyper-aged back to manhood, and still kind of looks like a 40-year-old who works out a lot. In other words, Magneto's a gray fox. Magneto is a hunk of man meat. Look at the way Jim Lee draws him. Now anyway, do you like danger? What are guns made out of? Guns are made out of metal. Knives are made out of metal. I don't know about you, but I like having a knife and a gun held to my throat simultaneously without someone having to actually hold them to my throat. That's the quickest way to make me come, but that's just me. Magneto could do all of those things. Magneto could cock an armory of guns, point them directly at your face, command you to do whatever you want. If you're into that sub-dom stuff, that's your dude. And not only this, Magneto would actually be a great sex therapist, if you think about it. Can you not get an erection? Come see Dr. Magneto, because as long as you don't mind him having to sit in the corner, you too can have an eternal erection, as long as you don't have an iron deficiency. Screwing dudes not your thing? Magneto also has a daughter with the same power set who happens to be stacked and have green hair. So, perfect chick for you weebs out there. But let's go with our third characters. Ant-Man and the Atom, to be specific. Two shrinky individuals. I'm sticking with the Marvel and DC universe here, because statistics say you all don't read comics, and most people don't anymore. But most of you should be familiar with Ant-Man. And for you DC fanboys out there, just pretend I'm saying the Atom. Anyway, let's look at Ant-Man's powers. Ant-Man can also become Giant Man, and he grows, obviously, and becomes proportionally stronger as he grows. And we can understand how growing things would help you out in the sex department. But what you may not understand is that when Ant-Man shrinks, he also retains the strength of a full-grown man, no matter how small he gets. So let's just say She-Hulk or some hard-to-please woman just can't get hit hard enough, or maybe their boyfriends can't find their clit. Well, Ant-Man could shrink down to inches, go literally inside the vagina, and use your clit as a speed bag, probably making you orgasm, harder than Mount Vesuvius. Now, let's also think about the Atom here. Now, while Ant-Man can also shrink down to the size of an atom, the Atom's more known for doing that. The Atom could also probably fix sexual problems. Do you have, maybe you can't orgasm, or maybe you have an erectile dysfunction, or there's some sort of blockage or something. The Atom can go, again, great sex therapist. He can go down there and just blast that away. Not really number 4, but let's go ahead and talk about who we're going to preclude. Let's leave out psychics for obvious reasons. Probably should have put this at the beginning of the video, but hey. Psychics aren't fair. They can just put whatever pleasure palace you want in your mind. You know, oh, but I get off on mental stimulation. Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. You know, we've seen the X-Men cartoons with Mastermind and the light bondage Victorian era fantasies that he had Jean Grey going through. Not doing it. So number 5, let's talk about the stretchy guys. So we've really got 3 characters here. The best known stretchy guys would be Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four, Elongated Man of the DC Universe, and Plastic Man, also of the DC Universe. Let's go ahead and eliminate Reed Richards. It's an issue constantly in the comic book that he doesn't have time for his wife, is emotionally neglectful, only to be revealed later through some sort of drastic measures that, oh, he was thinking about you the whole... It's boring. Reed's too busy doing science stuff to fuck. So he's out. Elongated Man. Now, in the comic books, it's been stated several times that Elongated Man has a higher capacity for lateral thinking than Batman even does, which means at the very least, he can find your clit, ladies. Now, even though Elongated Man's probably pretty good at sex, I think I gotta give it to Plastic Man. Plastic Man not only started out as a criminal, so he's a bad boy, but also he's got a sense of humor, you know, which supposedly matters. I don't know about that, or maybe I'd get laid a little more. But anyway, I digress. So Plastic Man is the one of all 3 of the characters I've previously mentioned that makes the best and most fun shapes. You know, do you want a paddle that can spank you, be inserted, and also lick your butthole simultaneously? Guess what? Plastic Man. Do you want a literal dick-shaped train ran on you? Plastic Man. Do you want a ball with nipples and a penis? Plastic Man. Do you want to be fucked by a pogo stick? Plastic Man. Want to have sex with a kite? Plastic Man. Oh, want to have sex with a kite? Dressed as Benjamin Franklin? Plastic Man. Moving on to the next one. Alright, number 6. I think that's where we're at. I've kind of lost count. The Flash, or The Flash is. Now, I'm kind of on the fence about The Flash. Don't really know, like, is he a premature ejaculator? But also, does that matter? Because as we've seen several times, The Flash can do more in 5 seconds than most men can do in 5 hours.
Fastest man alive.
Which might explain why you can't get a date.
Yeah. Hey!
So, I mean, just before you're ready to insult the guy, like, that was it, you're exploding in violent orgasms. Because he's given you 5 hours of deep dicking in 5 seconds. I mean... You know, oh, was that it? And I was like, whoa! Yeah. Talk shit no more. The Flash also comes in several flavors. Again, got an old man fetish? Jay Garrick, Golden Age Flash. You like redheads? You got Wally West. You like your typical vanilla blonde white guys? You got Barry Allen. You like him a little darker? Hey, you got Wally West, New 52. But also, he's a teen, you sick fuck. Alright, number 7, I think. Nightcrawler. Let's think, I'm a little on the fence about Nightcrawler as well. There's kind of a controversy that Nightcrawler may or may not have 2 penises. This mostly comes from the feature, the bonus feature in X2, the Nightcrawler feature on the DVD. I'm not sure if it's in any of the re-releases or the Blu-ray or whatever, but during that featurette, there's one interview where someone talks about him potentially having 2 penises. It's hard to find references in the comics. I'm drawing a blank here. But just for the sake of this, let's say he does. Also, Nightcrawler was a circus performer. Nightcrawler looks like a demon. You know, Nightcrawler, when he teleports, it smells like fire and brimstone. So hey, big titty goth chicks, there's your dude. On top of this, again, circus performer. Acrobat. So he's got to be flexible. He's got to be bendable. One of the drawbacks is he's deeply religious, so even though he has 2 dicks, he's probably saving one for marriage. Number 8, let's go with the Vision. The Vision, a synthezoid or an android, the term has changed several times. It basically means the same thing, except for maybe he has a soul. Who cares? That's not what we're talking about here. Let's go ahead and skip over the fact that he has infinite stamina, as we've already covered that with Magneto. He also doesn't require food or water. or any sort of human comfort, so he can be a cold and efficient lover, but the main thing is he can control his density. Much like Shadowcat, he can phase through walls, or phase through really anything, but also he can become diamond hard and anything in between. So he is the sleep number bed of fucking. How hard do you want him? How soft do you want him? It's all up to you. Alright, let's talk about shapeshifters, or Mystique specifically. Mystique's already hot when she's blue. I like the whole thing. She's got the little skull hair clip in her classic depictions. It's hot to me, but hey, what do you like? You gay? You straight? You bi? You anything in between? Mystique's a shapeshifter. It's a catalog of fuckery. What do you want? You're only limited by your imagination as long as it's vaguely humanoid.
No one's ever left a scar quite like you.
What do you want, an apology?
You know what I want.
You know, Mystique's not going to be able to... Well, I was going to say she's not going to be able to be like Goro, but actually I've seen her do something similar to that. But usually if she maintains a shape that's outside of the typical human norm, something like having about 6 arms, approximating something with 6 arms or more, she can't hold that for very long. But again, any vaguely human form you've ever seen that you want to fuck, Mystique. Moving on, number 9 or 10, again, I've lost count, the Green Lanterns. Those are your boys when it comes to anything that is not vaguely human. They have power rings that are limited only by their imagination. But let's eliminate most of the Green Lanterns and we'll focus on Kyle Rayner, because Hal Jordan, you basic. You got your bat, your baseball gloves, your mouse traps, you basically anything that the Looney Tunes have done, you've done. But Kyle Rayner, an artist who has a amazing imagination, I would imagine. Want to fuck a Gundam? You're good. Want a fucking 8-armed, penis-legged spider? There you go. Any Green Lantern. And hell, you know, maybe you don't want to fuck a human. Like, you want to fuck a pig man. Like, let's go with Kilowog. Yeah, Kilowog can do the same thing. Just give him a request. You might have to explain what it is, because, you know, you're an Earthling, and he's not familiar with our culture completely, but hey, to each his own. Number 10 or 11, again, lost count. Invisible Woman. Married to Reed Richards, but hey, Reed's not giving it to her. We've talked about that. A MILF. Has kids. Hot, blonde, stacked. Classic Pamela Anderson type, except for she's got the boobs and the brains. Invisible Woman can not only just turn invisible, she can also generate force fields. Which means, if you think about it, because I've seen her do this in the comics where she almost strangled Wolverine by generating force fields in his lungs so he could not breathe. You can raw dog the Invisible Woman and she won't get pregnant because she could easily generate force fields in her fallopian tubes. As long as she waits for sperm death to let her guard down, no pregnancies. You know, unless you're trying to break up a marriage and get the Baxter building, I don't know. Anyway, let's go with some of the bad ones. The Thing. The Thing should be obvious. He's a big rock monster. He's essentially a golem. Now, I don't know what his penis looks like. Pretty sure it's never been depicted in comics. But also, I doubt it's polished stone. I think you like having a rectum. I think you like having a vagina that's intact and not, you know, not someone who's going to rip out your clitoris or not someone who's going to literally wreck your uterus. It's, you know, who's good at sex, not who's the best prison rapist. Moving on again. Let's talk about the Juggernaut. The Juggernaut is as large as a tank. That presents its own set of problems. Also, speaking of who would be the best rapist, or the best prison rapist, the Juggernaut cannot be stopped while he's in motion. So essentially, if he's in a humping motion, there should be no way to stop him. You know, barring psychic attack. But if he's wearing his helmet, that's out of the picture too. And we're quickly moving on through the bad ones. So let's go with Colossus. A little on the fence about Colossus. Yes, Colossus might be a proficient lover outside of his armored mutant form, but when he steels up, does that make things better or worse? We've all been cut by metal, most of us have at least. It's not fun. Is it smooth, polished, organic steel, or is it rough and hard and gnarly? Because if that's the case, I wouldn't want to sign up for that.
Wade, please.
Cockshot! Oh, your poor wife.
You really should stop.
I promise this gets worse for you, big boy!
This is embarrassing. Please, stay down.
Moving on. Probably the worst. The Blob. The Blob, or Fred Dukes, is beyond morbidly obese, cannot be moved when his feet touch earth and soil. And let's be honest, mutant powers, they manifest primarily around adolescence or puberty under great stress. So Fred Dukes may not have been, I don't remember exactly how his powers manifested, but Fred Dukes could have been an average-sized person, undergone the extreme stress, and then just blown the hell up immediately. And I like to think that, at first he was, his first sexual experience, he's like, oh man, I hope I don't come too quick, or man, I hope she likes me, or man, I just, I hope I don't fuck this up. I just like to imagine that he's going to Pound Town, and he's, like feeling good about himself, but the stress of it all, X gene manifests, crushes a woman. That's just funny to me. I like the idea of average-sized human becomes impossibly obese, kills woman. It'd make a great National Enquirer headline. Moving on to the next one, the last one. Not a bad one. A good one, an unexpected one, the one I personally want to have sex with. Swamp Thing. But Jake, isn't he a plant monster? What are you, a vegan? Pussy. No, none of those things. Except for, Swamp Thing is a plant monster. Swamp Thing started a relationship in the seminal Alan Moore series with Abigail Arcane. Now, it was alluded to in the original series that they kind of had a thing for each other, but they actually start a romantic relationship. Now, after a while, Swamp Thing notices that Abigail, has physical needs, and she expresses a desire for some sort of communion. Now, they don't have sex in the typical biological sense. No, they do something way more fantastic. Swamp Thing grows a little knob, sort of a mushroom, on his body, which he then feeds to Abigail, and they proceed to trip balls in one of the most crazy, animated sequences in comic books, outside of like a Steve Ditko Doctor Strange, affair. It's wonderful. I want to trip balls, fuck Swamp Thing. I want Swamp Thing inside me. Give me your mushroom, Swamp Thing. If that's what it's like. Like, I would be a whore for Swamp Thing. Like, plant sex all day long, if that is what that is. Anyway, I digress. It should be self-explanatory why I want to have sex with Swamp Thing. No STDs. It's green. It's pure. It's organic. I don't fucking know. But there's no downside. There's no downside. No lasting effects, no trauma, no brain damage. I guess I didn't really digress, but, that's about it. Anyway, I've been Jake, and this has been The Steaming Pile.